Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Night Wellness Stories. I'm Sherry Danzig, and we always are sharing great stories. Usually it's about the products. Tonight's going to be a little different. I'm asking everyone that shares to share a business story of what did they hear, what excited them that they decided to join Niken as a business. So we're going to hear some personal stories about that. It always the business, you can't take the products out of the business. And so it's always about some influence, or most of the time, it's about some influence of these fabulous wellness technologies that are all about harnessing Mother Nature into ways that we can live with it every day. So that's pretty exciting. So stay tuned for some great stories. So we're going to start with Barb Richmond. Barb, if you'll please unmute and share your story.
Thanks, Sherry. Well, let's start with no one likes to have refunds. My hubby and I were operating a bed and breakfast. And one morning we had a complaint from two different guests, that they'd been kept awake through the night because of someone snoring in another room. Well, my hubby and I both knew that it was because of his snoring. And the only decent thing to do was to offer a refund. A day or two later, a classmate called me, and she had the same challenge with her hubby, but she'd found a solution. They loaned us a sleep system for 3 nights as our introduction to Niken, and we had phenomenal results. As a result of that, we purchased a few more products, and we offered those products to our guests. Now, our guests would sometimes come in and they'd had an injury. Maybe they'd been hiking and they'd slipped and fallen, and they'd ask us for an ice pack. And we'd say, well, try this. We had no idea what the product would do or whether it was even the right application, but we'd say to them, give it a try and we'd appreciate your feedback. Well, the feedback was incredible. Everybody was getting benefits. But it wasn't one product for one issue and another product for another issue. One product sometimes addressed numerous issues, and we didn't know ahead of time what to offer. Here, try this, see what happens. Well, that continued. And when the results continued to be positive, we thought, there's something here. Maybe we better check out the company. So we did. And we found a company that operated in integrity. So we joined Niken. Right after that, we purchased our wellness home. And we continued to have our B&B and our Niken business for several years. And our guests were coming out of the woodwork asking for help. After a while, we decided that we were just going to focus on sharing what Niken had to offer. Over the years, I've come to the belief that our technologies help the body get back to balance naturally. And the body's able to make changes to our health. I've had joint issues since an early age. And yet, because of the philosophy of Niken, their nutritionals, their water, the sleep system, the air, and the support products, I've not had to rely on prescription drugs and all the nasty side effects. I had a hip replacement on May 30th of 2023, and I had a rapid and uneventful recovery. I'm having another one on the 5th of April, just a couple of weeks from now, and I expect to have the exact same rapid, uneventful recovery. But I cocoon myself in Niken's technologies. I take all the nutritionals. I drink half my body weight in water every day. And now I'm excited about finally getting and taking, consuming the new collagen product. So to summarize, I'm a lifer. And I expect I'll probably do it until I take my last breath.
That's
Best
awesome.
thing we ever did was, and another thing, when my hubby passed away, well, I was finding my new reality. I continued to get a check from Nikken until I was ready to jump back in and start rebuilding the business. But I have some clients now that I've had in all my years of Nikken. They're lifers too.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Barbara.
Sherry.
Thank you. There's so much richness in what you just shared about how much more Nikken is than a transactional business of people buying product. It's so great how you know, kind of just organically went through this to understand the power of the products and therefore the power of the business. And there's so much to be said about having a community. I mean, I can't imagine what your life would have been like had you were doing only the B&B and then your husband passed, or caring for somebody, because businesses, that kind of business in particular requires, I think, more than 100%,
Well,
probably
the B&B
110%.
business was very labor intensive.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
with some health challenges, we both had health challenges before we were introduced to Nikken.
Yeah,
And the technologies helped us work through those challenges
yeah,
until we took a look at it and said, why are we doing both?
yeah.
Why are we killing ourselves trying to keep up with the B&B and share these amazing technologies? Let's make a decision, one or the other. And we chose to stay with Nikken.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. Maggie, please share a story of yours, of your story of deciding to make Nikken your business.
Thank you, Sherry. If anybody had said to me 30 years ago, you're going to quit your tenured professorship and you're going to have a home-based business with a Japanese company, I would have asked them to get their head checked, because who does that, right? So I wasn't looking for business. And as Mrs. Kramer said earlier when we were chatting before the call, I didn't have time. I was very busy. It was a full-time, full-on teaching job, and I was doing a full-time post-grad program in another province before the internet. So I was traveling back and forth to Alberta from BC, and recently separated. So I was a single mom with two boys in university and wanting to help them a lot. And my parents were aging. So I don't think that's a very uncommon scenario for a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
So when a really dear friend of mine said to me, I think I found what you're looking for, I couldn't remember what I'd asked her for, but when she explained that I had been telling her, if you find anything that I don't have to, go out and spend thousands of hours and thousands of dollars getting temporary relief, that you think could help my chronic condition, please let me know. And she and her husband had both had amazing results, and both very science minded. So I knew that there was really something here for sure. So when I was introduced to Nikken, I still wasn't looking for a business, and I was desperately seeking relief. So when I looked at the concept of the wellness home, and we didn't even call it that then, but I looked at, okay, what does my body need? It needs an environment 24/7. It's great to go out and get a bit of relief, but if you're going to have permanent change in anything, it has to be there all the time. So I jumped in immediately, and this is almost 30 years ago. I got everything the company had, because my friend was wise enough to say, there's a great tax benefit here for doing this as a business, and there's no requirements to have quotas or anything. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And, you get a discounted price. So those things in line really appealed to me, because I'd heard people say if you don't have some tax write-offs, which we don't have as government employees for sure, you're paying too much income tax. I knew I was paying too much income tax. I didn't know how to get around that. So Nikken came at the right time, and within 3 months, I had complete relief from a 30-year chronic problem. And I still have that relief 30 years later. So I think that's in the category of miracle, to be honest with you. And what I realized is once I had some really solid results, I had different ears. I would hear people saying, "Oh, my elbow hurts. Oh, my feet hurt. Oh, I'm not sleeping. Oh, I don't know how to, make extra money." And so I would listen, and listening is so key, and ask them how that was impacting them, and what have they been doing, and they found anything, and if not, I had something that might be of interest to them. So that was my approach. Sometimes I said too much. I gave them the water hose treatment of Nican rather than the trickle, and those people ran away. And I mean, any new thing in life is a learning opportunity and a process. So I quickly came to the realization that I have a moral obligation here, Sherry. I cannot know what I know and not share it with other people, especially being an educator. I knew that people didn't know about energy technologies. I knew people didn't really know anything about Japanese health, except that they knew that Japan was a very healthy country. So I took it upon myself to, when appropriate, educate people about what we have here. So within 3 years, just doing that in the cracks of time, because as I said, I had very little time, I was making an income that far exceeded what I could ever make in teaching. And so I had a, you know, come to awareness moment, and I said, sort of like Barb, do I want to keep killing myself, doing all the work it takes to deal with the politics? And I mean, I love teaching. Don't get me wrong. If I could just teach and not have to deal with the rest of it, that would be great. But do I want to continue to do this? And do I want to have an effect that is only when these students are with me? Do I want to have something that's more ongoing? That I probably will never see most of these students again in my life. And Niken was offering me an opportunity to create relationships that are ongoing. And many of those people are still very much in my life today because of the Niken 5 pillars of wellness. So I really had to pull up my big girl panties and walk into the president's office one day and told him and to tell him that I was leaving. He thought I meant I was going on vacation, and I said, "No, I'm actually leaving this position." And he was so stunned. Who does that kind of look on his face? And I said, "Well, I'm out of here, and this is my whatever 2 months notice or whatever." So at the end of that semester, I was unemployed and thinking, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" Looking back, it's the best thing, the best decision I ever made. And my father, being a farmer, said to me, he said, "I wondered how long it was going to take you to wake up and realize that you shouldn't be working for other people." So I absolutely love Nikan in all the aspects. And I believe that the business is our best product because we can offer people a way to not only have the wellness home and feel better, but to have balance in other things. I have more time with my family now. I was able to do things with and for my children that I wasn't able to do. I was able to see my parents many, many times before they passed on, which I would not have, or I could do it on a teaching salary and a teaching timetable, but it was very difficult. With the time freedom and the financial freedom, all of those things were so much easier. And I really recommend that the people not only look at this, but look at it with an eye to being open to learning, because it's a different mindset. Being an employee is very different from being an entrepreneur. And you know that, Shirley, even though you were an entrepreneur before Nikan. And there are so many things to learn that to me are not just personal development, there's spiritual development. I love the humans being more concept. I think that if here's the vision I have, big as it is. What if the whole world had a wellness home? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And if everybody's a wellness consultant, nobody'd be fighting, because we always get along, we're there for the community. So there's just so much here for people. And so I'm like Barb, I'm a lifer.
Yep. Thank you, Maggie. That's awesome. I think people that are listening get the idea that this is more than, like I said, it's not a transactional business. It's so much more of embracing a lifestyle, embracing a a philosophy of creating wellness, of sharing wellness with others, of being a service to others, of and as you said, the personal development is incredible. Humans being more, which I like to always say, it's not about humans doing more, which is what the two of y'all were describing, or even the having more, even though you can have more. The focus, when you focus on being more than the other things, well, not the doing more, the having more grows. I want to share real quick my perspective too of my story. Because as Maggie said, I was already independent. I was already an entrepreneur. I was a solopreneur really as a massage therapist. And so when Nikem was introduced to me, the first thing I thought is, oh, this is maybe going to solve the problem I've had, that I had a bad back. I was hurting quite a bit, which was a difficult thing when you're doing physical work, for others, when you're in service and leaning over a table and all of that. It took a toll on me. And so the other thing I was looking at though was that I was running out of hours a day that I could work physically, and I could see where, where is this ever going to grow? Where am I going to ever have a bigger life? And I wanted a bigger life. We were definitely living month to month, and I didn't want that to be the case. My husband was a school teacher, and so there was definitely a ceiling there. And at the time, I had three little girls, and so I wanted to spend as much time at home with them. And I wasn't getting to do that. Well, the truth is I could take as much time as I wanted, but I wasn't getting, I didn't get an income. So anytime we went on vacation, that was when I experienced the most stress. I really didn't have stress doing massage. I loved the work. I loved my clients. They loved me. It was wonderful. And it was taking a toll on me. And every time I wasn't working, there was no income. So for me to understand this, I knew nothing about network marketing. I knew nothing about building a team. When you're a massage therapist or you're any kind of a practitioner like that, you're doing the work, you get paid, you go back and do the work and you get paid. And so the idea of building a team and growing personally and the leadership, all of those things were new concepts. And the good news is that Niken has, well, this is my 27th year, and they have so much more. They've improved so much more in terms of the kind of training and support. And of course, having Zooms, I mean, it's so much more accessible to learn how to become an entrepreneur. So it is a business of, you can't help but grow. You can't help but learn, and expand. And so right from a very early start, I was about 6 months in, and because I had a team that was growing, I took 3 weeks off of 1 month in June, and I had earned more income than I had when I was working full time every day, every week, of the previous months. So that really got my attention. There's a power in a team because that's where you can get time freedom. That's when you don't aren't doing all of the work, when you're teaching people to teach people to teach people, and it just keeps growing from there. So, um, like the two of you, I'm a complete lifer. I don't ever see the idea of retirement is a foreign concept to me, because when you love what you do and you have all the freedom of when you do it and how you do it, there's no reason to retire from that. Why would you do that? And that really is nice when you can have a residual income into retirement years, which is something that I'm now really experiencing now that I'm officially in retirement years. So those are three different stories. There's so many more stories that one can share. Um, Thank you all for listening, sharing, and keep keep coming back and keep hearing these stories because they're powerful. We learn so much from each other.